In this video, I'm looking at another battle from Ascari. This is Italian colonial battles in East Africa in the late 1800s. So I already looked at the first battle of Agordat, where the Italians ended up getting intercepted by some dervish forces that had just raided a village. And I played that out. Actually, the Italians held their own on that one. And now I'm continuing. I think that one was in June 27th of 1890. So now, a little over 3 years later, it's December 21st, 1898. And the scenario is 2,200 native Ascari and some Italian national soldiers, led by Lieutenant Colonel Arimondi, encounters in the plain of Agordat around 12,000 Mahdists, led by the Emir of Gedaref, attempting to invade the Italian colony of Eritrea. An astonishing Italian victory, and the very first one of the young nation. So this is played on the Agordat map. I believe the victory conditions are that here, the dervishes must occupy the fort of Agordat or eliminate 7 Italian units. And in this case, officers do count as a unit. And the Italians must occupy the dervish camp or eliminate 20 dervish units, and emirs count as units. So it's a pretty standard approach to this game. So we'll take a look at it by going down to the map. So as I mentioned earlier, the Second Battle of Agordat in 1893 is opening up here on December 21st. It's the same battlefield as 3 years prior, although the Mahdists camp is now a Zerbia, so it's enhanced a little bit more, and the village of Agordat is fortified. And I probably didn't pronounce that right, but it's a Zariba or something like that. And it's basically a protective closure made of thorn bushes. So it's a little bit more protective than a camp, but certainly not a fortification. So I have these, the native Ascari as well as some Italian nationals are deployed at a fortress in Agordat alongside the flanks of the position. And these are led by Lieutenant Colonel Arimondi. And the Ascari formation has 2 batteries of guns in addition to their rifled units. Now, the dervishes are led by Wad Ahmad Ali, who is emir, and many of these native formations are armed with Remington rifles, but some are armed with spears. But Ali plans on storming the Italian position under the cover of nightfall. So we'll see how this is going to go. The Italian lieutenant colonel decides that he wants to try to circumvent this by launching into his own preemptive attack. In this first picture that you're looking at, this is the Ascari and the Italian formation, and they are moving toward the enemy in what I'm calling a preemptive attack. And Lieutenant Colonel Arimondi is remaining back at the fort. You can see on the upper left part of the picture, he is in the fort at Agordat. And he has a battery of artillery with him. Then Colonel Galliano maneuvers with the troops on the Ascari right flank in an effort to turn the enemy flank. We'll see how this goes. And then Colonel Cortisa leads the men in the center, and you see him at the in the top upper portion of the picture in the middle. And Captain Salsa is holding the left flank. He's at the very top, almost cut off from the picture. My next picture is showing the red units, which these are the the Dervish Rube units that are being led by Abir Ibrahim, and on the right, and he was formerly a colonel in the Egyptian army, and he has some battle experience, so he's going to be quite valuable to the dervish forces. And then Abdullah Rasul is leading the dervish left flank. Moving on to our next picture, both sides are now closing ranks. This shows it quite well. Colonel Galliano has control of the donkey-drawn artillery, which will be very useful for the Italians and the Ascari, and it's going to allow him to use opportunity fire with these big guns. Several of the dervish units are shown in this picture as having been hit by rifle fire. You see they're on their reduced sides. These are the units that go from red to a split between red and pink. They're reduced. And so the dervish units on the front line here, as you can see, are all armed with Remington rifles. Then we move on to our next picture, and this is showing the Ascari 4th Battalion, which has itself suffered some casualties from dervish rifle fire. And Colonel Galliano is still continuing on the bottom of the picture there to try to attempt a turning movement. But what's happening is the dervish Rube, led by Ahmad Abdallah Dagask, is also trying to turn the flank there. So I do see there that some of the dervish units have crossed the river on the lower right part of the picture. Going on to the next picture, this is showing some of those dervish units that are on the lower right side. They have crossed the river, and they are managing to outflank the Ascari position from the dervish left flank. And Dag's Rube is still in good order here. And we're finding that Colonel Galliano's 4th Battalion, which is holding that Ascari right flank, is wavering a little bit. We go to the next picture here, and now the dervish forces are trying to close ranks with the Ascari, and they want to try to engage in melee combat. Abdullah Rasul's Rube does enter melee with one of the infantry companies of the Ascari 4th Battalion, but it retreats, as you can see in the picture there. It has that pink retreat chit on it. So it gave up a little bit of ground, and now he's got his back to the river. So the battle continues, and I'm going on to the next picture here, showing Captain Salsa at the very top. He's holding the Ascari left quite handily. And then in the center, you've got Colonel Cortisa, who has his defense is mostly against these riverbanks. And the Ascari 3rd Battalion, a couple of units have crossed the Aichiari River, holding off the dervish center in this attack. But as you can imagine here, the Ascari right is not doing well, as they have been flanked. And now going on to the next picture, Abdullah Rusal's Rube, and he's the one shown in 2407, I believe, he's beginning to suffer some losses on the dervish left. Ahmad Adacher is bringing his dervish Rube into play here for the next wave, but his lead unit doesn't have Remingtons. They're only armed with spears, so they're only going to be able to engage once they get into hex to melee. Now remember that the dervish army needs to capture the fort at Agordat to win, or else they need to eliminate 7 or more Ascari units. And the Ascaris must defend the fort and they have to eliminate 20 dervish units. So this photo that I have here now is showing the dead pile up till now. And you can see that Dagask has lost 1 rifle unit and 3 spear units. You've got Ibrahim has lost 2 of his rifle units, and Rasul has lost 3 rifle units and 2 spear units. But notice that the Ascari have only lost 2 companies from the 2nd and 4th battalions. So that gives you a little bit of a look. Now I'm going to move on to the next photo. Here the battle continues with both sides trying to meet their victory conditions, and the Ascari are using their rifles and artillery, while the dervishes are trying to use rifles and then close with their spear units. This picture is showing Captain Salsa at the top right of the picture. Has a very good defensive position there in the palm trees. Then you've got in the center Colonel Cortiz's 3rd Battalion. He's definitely suffered some casualties in the center, and the Ascari right seems to be crumbling. You can see in the lower part of the picture that the dervish units are coming around on them, and they've got some combat going on across the river. This next picture is showing the Ascari center retaining control after some heavy exchanges with the dervishes. Now I'm going on to the next picture, and both sides are counting the dead pile to see like how close are they getting to what's needed. And the Ascari need some more kills, but these are coming easier to them than the dervish kills are. So this picture is showing the dervish troops in the center that have pushed the Ascari back across the river. And Ibrahim's Rube, which is supported by Adetcher's Rube, are proving very effective here at the moment. The spearmen are managing to get close enough to be able to close and to engage in melee combat. Going on to the next picture, we're looking at the Ascari right flank, which is the bottom flank here. The artillery pieces have become dislodged. You'll notice that's not good. They can't fire that way. And the troops from Barca have moved up to plug that defensive hole there. The Ascari center, though, has stabilized. The left flank did end up defeating the initial dervish attack. And this next picture is showing the dead pile again. The dervish dead pile now exceeds 20 units for an Ascari victory. Notice the leader, Wad Ahmad Ali, the emir of Gararif, is among the dead. Historically, he was killed by shrapnel. I think I was reading that in the notes. You'll also notice additionally that Abdallah Dagaska and Emir Rasul are also among the dead. Plus, the Italian leader, Colonel Galliano, was killed leading the artillery on the Ascari right flank, and you can see him in the dead pile there. So, having lost their morale, the dervish army ends up fleeing the battlefield, and the dervish actually needed to eliminate 2 more units to achieve their victory condition, but incidentally, there were 4 reduced Ascari units in the center and on the right flank. So these were a step away from meeting those requirements. Anyway, that brings this game to a close. The Ascari and the Italians did win this battle, as I believe they did historically. And I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.